is up. It's time for another episode of Spartivation, your podcast source for inspiration and motivation to get you through your Spartan body transformation. Here now is your host, the Spartan Doctore, champion of growth.
It is a glorious day to train and grow. I'm Ryan Masters, the Spartan Doctore, certified strength and conditioning specialist, here to provide you with motivation and inspiration as you journey through your epic transformation. Welcome to another episode of Spartivation, broadcast directly to you from Trifection Studios. If you find these episodes helpful, be sure to subscribe and leave a review so I know to produce more of them for you. Today we're continuing our dive into the Spartan Body Blueprint, which you can download for free at Spartivation.com. And we are looking at the three areas you need to focus on, or focus your action, the three action areas to focus on for changing your body. And this is all under the umbrella of the Spartan Body Triad. And in the first one we talked about before, which is the dynamic strength training, this is the most popular one in the sense that anyone who starts lifting or who has the mindset of, hey, I want to change my physique, they know they have to get to the gym and start doing something there. So we've touched on that, but we're going to go over today calibrated food intake. And this is actually the highest point of leverage that you have in terms of changing your body. And you can actually change your body without even working out and just focusing on this area. And that's why it's 40%. It's the most influential in terms of changing your physique. And just think about it. You could be working out till you're blue in the face, but if you're eating McDonald's hamburgers and cheeseburgers every day, as far as that's your food intake, your body's it's not going to change. Well, maybe it'll change, but not in the way that you want it to change. And on the flip side of that, you could not work out at all and just totally switch to a perfect diet and perfect food intake in the sense that you're only eating natural foods, no sugar, exactly what your body needs to run for the day, and you will lose weight. You may not necessarily be able to build muscle because you do need resistance training to do that, but you can change your body and lose fat just by changing your food intake. That's why it's the biggest area point of leverage for improvement. It's also, one of the most hardest because there's a lot of self-discipline involved and self-awareness and self-discovery that you have to go through in order to really become a master of your food intake and changing your body as a result of that. And that's, first off, there's a specific reason I call it food intake, because I view nutrition and food as like a hose going to your body, and the hose is delivering nutrients nutrients are in the form energy in the form of nutrients, and it's continually delivering that, and you get to choose the type and the quality that is sent. Hence, that's where the calibration comes in. But it's never on and off, it's always running, so you're always getting sent these nutrients and energy, and you calibrate it based on your goals. If you're looking to build muscle, you're going to need a little bit different food intake than you will if you're burning fat or if you're trying some combination of both. But I think that's a healthy picture for you to install in your mindset, to view food as this endless stream of energy and intake that you are putting into your body, and you don't turn the stream off. You just calibrate it based on your goals. And that's one of the reasons why diets and dieting doesn't work, is because it automatically puts you in the wrong mindset, in this type of scarcity mindset. And that's the mindset of loss, because now you're losing or you're giving up tasty things, or what you perceive as tasty things like pizza or cheese fries or whatever. And as humans, we fear loss of something more than we appreciate the gain of something. So when you're afraid of losing something, you are more likely to act on avoiding that fear, and that's why dieting doesn't work, because you're losing, you're telling yourself already, I'm giving up, alcohol, I'm giving up this, giving up that, and it's just the wrong mindset, and it screws you from the get-go. But when you have a calibrated food intake mindset, you understand that, well, you know what, I can have a beer because I know that how it's going to impact my body, and I accept the consequences, or I accept that, and not from a bad place, but you're just like, no, it's okay. Or I can have this cheeseburger or this particular food, and not because I need a cheat meal or this or that, but because it feels good in the moment, and it's in terms of my calibrated food intake, it's okay. So just switching over to that can have a profound change on how you view food. And again, that's kind of the part of the show, is really just looking at the mindset and what your thoughts are, and because we have to change those if we're going to change the body. So whatever you do, stop dieting. That's step one. Now let's look at the three components of calibrated food intake. And the first is the 80-20 muscle menu. And just like there's the 80-20 of strength training, there's 80-20 in terms of food intake. And what I mean by that is 20% of the food that you eat can deliver 80% of the results in terms of changing your physique. So when you're starting out, it's really important that we try and get the results, get some type of results as fast as we can, so that we get buy-in and more motivation internally. And the best way to do that is to go focus on these 20%. And what that would be is things, first of all, it's all, natural foods. We don't want anything processed. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be organic, although organic is usually pretty good, but we want non-processed stuff. And so you need protein. So for that, we're looking at like eggs, chicken, red meat, tuna, salmon, turkey. I mean, that right there is a great base of protein for you to feed off of to build muscles. And then on the carbs, we've got two sides. First, you want fruits and vegetables. That's the best source of carbs is, again, naturally grown fruits and vegetables. And then depending on, this is where it can get a little tricky, or just, people have different preferences, and that's okay. When we look at like the grain carbs and stuff like oats and quinoa and brown rice, those are usually pretty safe in terms of, you don't have to worry about big effects there. Some people have gluten intolerance, or they just don't want anything to do with gluten, and that's fine. In that case, you would avoid, whole wheat bread and whole grain bread. But if you don't have an intolerance to it, it's certainly a good source of energy to include in your food intake as well. And last but not least, you want to make sure you're getting healthy fats, omega-3 being the biggest one, which is in salmon, but also you probably want to look at some type of fish oil supplement to make up for that. And things like healthy nuts, almonds, walnuts, and if you've got dairy, whole milk is another great one. So all of those, again, focusing at the high level, we just want to think about when we're shopping, what is not processed and down to its bare essentials. The paleo is kind of a good mindset too, as far as some of their philosophies when they're asking about, can I eat this? But it's really just it really just comes down to eating real food. You'd be amazed at how much food out there is not food. And so the more, I view it as like when you're eating processed food, which is not food, again, every once in a while, it's not a big deal. It's part of the calibrated food intake, so it's okay to have it. But it's just kind of like, view it as like, it's like putting a Rubik's Cube into your body, and your body's like, oh man, what is this? We got to figure it out. And then sometimes it's like, well, I don't feel like figuring it out. Boom. And it goes to fat storage, depending on how much you eat. Whereas real food, your body's like, oh, bam, I know exactly what this is. This is a protein. Cool. Come on over here. Let's get building muscle. So that's kind of just one way to look at it. But again, with the 80-20 muscle menu, we just want to focus on real food. That's kind of the big takeaway there. And the second component is right food, right time. So when you eat, it matters. It matters, and especially right after and before your workout. That's going to have a huge impact on as far as getting better ROI from everything. And the type of foods you're eating throughout the day. One strategy is you want to, depending on what you're doing, but if you're looking to kind of lose fat, is you eat more of your carbs in the morning, and towards the evening and afternoon you switch over to just proteins and healthy fats. And that's an example of using food timing to help you change and shape your physique. And the third component is perfect portions. Okay, and so what gets measured gets managed. And there are different ways to measure. Some people measure, obviously you can weigh all the food, and we go into this. There are very easy ways to do it as far as measuring what you're eating. And I go over that in the Spartan Rises, which you can get at SpartanRises.com. But even without that, the main thing with perfect portions is you have to be aware of what you're eating. And most guys, when I talk to them, they don't know what they're eating. And when you don't know what you're eating, you're certainly not going to know the impact that it has on your body. And I don't mean just what, but also how much. And you'd be surprised, how much you think something is in terms of the size of it and how much it really is when you put it on a food scale and see. So that perfect portions it's the third one. The first two is where you're going to get the best leverage first, but the third one, perfect portions, does come into play when you're really looking to shape and sculpt your body. So you're going to have to pay attention to how much food you're putting into it. Now, no matter what your current food intake looks like, always remember, never retreat, never surrender, and keep moving forward.